Look at the house and the wires. So I'll have you guys probably send me the rope up eventually, and we'll have to rig a few. Alright, I'm headed up BRT with the zigzag. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another tree life video. I'm gonna get into the whole why topping is so dangerous in the long term for a guy who's got to climb it afterwards, how I can tell that this tree's topped and all that stuff. But I got in a bit of a pinch first thing when I got into this. Literally, actually, this limb, it looked like it should have went, but the dog leg like made an optical illusion. It actually leaned back heavy, and it set back on my bar, pinched it real good. I even tried to undercut a bit, and I couldn't get anything to really work. I tried pushing on it here, and it's set back so much on the cut. I start to worry. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can tickle at that cut a little more and get this thing to go over. So these situations, you don't want to make some crazy quick decision that's going to get you in trouble. I could have pushed on it, got my saw back in the cut, and maybe got it to go, and then it could make a fast cut and come off quick and land on your head and stuff. You just kind of, there's so many bad scenarios that can happen that I just went ahead and used the tail of my climb line. I'm going to set it up into this as a tag line so that the guys can give it a pull in the direction that I need. And right here at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm cut up all the way, but the way the trees or the limbs responding, it makes me think different. Like it's still connected pretty strongly, but I quickly realized that I was right. It is cut up all the way. And before I can even cut it here, the guys give it a little tug and it goes. So I'm glad I didn't make any quick decisions. I could have ended up with this limb on my head. And the reason we're rigging it, it's at the corner of the house and over the electric wire there. So we'll take care of this limb and then we'll get into a little more.
I thought so. I had already cut it. It's set all the way back on the cut.
We're going helmet camp.
Let's do this thing.
Alright, so why are top trees so dangerous? And how do I know that this tree has been topped? And how can I tell, year-wise how long it's been? Now, this is a regular occurrence where I live in Missouri. We have a lot of soft maples. For some reason, they get totally butchered. The tree is so hardy. It seems to come back a lot of times. It ends up with a lot of dead in them and a lot of failure after they get mature. The reason for that is the grain pattern never matches up on the new growth from where it gets cut. This tree was actually topped all the way down there at the trunk. It was completely stubbed off. I don't even think this thing probably had a fork on it originally. It was just a stalk. These shooters grew out. They were suckers originally. Then they became branches. Now it's this monstrosity that's here. And like I said, they fail often because the grain patterns don't match up. You end up with an old, mature section of log where new shooters have to grow out, and the grain patterns are much tighter depending on which one they are, and they just don't match up. So that's where you get your failures. You can have your tie-in points fail. You can have rigging points fail. I've dealt with all this over the years, so these are incredibly dangerous, and you kind of have to account for that and try to spread your weight out and make sure you're in a safe, secure tie-in point. Spread your rigging out, because if not, you can see every one of these sections wobbles like crazy. And right down here below my feet is where this tree was topped before. All these little spars that come off here, these were just suckers originally, and now they've turned into this. Now I like to keep the suckers cut, especially in the interior of the tree where I'm going to be moving around, setting up rigging, having ropes run and stuff like that. And plus I'll be trying to throw limbs down through here, so I like to keep that clear, get things to fall through a little easier. So, and plus it just like eases the mind. I've heard other climbers say the same thing, and I completely get it. A clean workspace is what it amounts to in the long term. So that's the reason I kind of, it seems a little time wasteful to be cutting all them suckers. Why not just take the whole limb? Well, it's more of a preference thing for a mental thing. So here at this point is where I'm gonna start sending some big sections. I have to watch the electric wires that are on the other side of the road, and I have to watch out for traffic comes through. And I need to try to keep everything to land as flat as possible and try not to hit the retaining wall down there, because these are very old walls and I'm just afraid that they could break. So I'm going to send some sections just so I can give the ground guys some stuff to do, and then I'll get back to some rigging and stuff like that. Alright, so with this last one here, I end up putting a notch. I see this car coming down the road and I'm like, I definitely have to keep this inside the cones. Luckily, everything kind of works out. Car can come through. Nobody's got to move a bunch of stuff. And I didn't smash the trailer there too, so. Now if you look right here, you can see, look where this tree has been topped. You see all these new poles? Basically where I'm standing was the top job, and I just am amazed at what some guys will do. Okay, with this bar here, it just, if I'd have cut it from here or any lower than what I do, I'm pretty sure this thing would smack the electric wires on the other side of the road. So I try to let the ground guys know, hey, you're clear, you can go in, I won't be dropping anything big. I think Dave just totally misunderstands what I said and thinks that I wanted him to watch the road. But whatever. I had a bit of a decision to make back there. Do I go over and start the rigging so that I can finish the harder part for me as the climber, or do I just keep working at dropping as much of a mess as I can so that the ground guys can get their stuff done and get it cleaned up? When it's cleaned up, I get to go.
It's really hard to see
So
what's going on with this piece.
it's not like I only want to take care of my stuff, so I work at making the biggest mess that I can. That way they can do their thing, and we can all be done. So right here, I just have to kind of get a bit of a twist on this thing. I need a little bit of a side turn one way or the other to keep it out of the wires, and it well you'll see here. I think the issue here is that the sap is so low and is down now with these soft maples. They definitely aren't responding the same way. They're kind of barber cracking, popping, and just breaking. So you'll notice as first thing is I want to make sure that my notch is perfect, kind of a wide back strap. I'll start to make the cut, but then I start to worry that it's just going to have side weight and it's just going to break. So pull the saw out. I'll try to finish everything with the hand saw. That way I can leave as much fiber as possible to get that turn. And it worked well. I always clean my saws off by smacking them against the tree or something. Try to get some of that, sappy sawdust off there to keep it from corroding so easy. So another thing I'm going to have to do here is I have my rigging point there. It worked for the one that I did, but some of these pieces are going to shock load the system, and I'm also tied into that point, so I want to back it up. So the entire time I've been looking for a redirect to redirect the base of the line over, and here in a few I actually find a spot to do that at. So as I'm kind of working down this log, trying to keep the pieces landing as flat as possible, I'm also looking to clear a spot to put a redirect for that rigging line so that I can strengthen the system completely. And you'll kind of notice the way the angles work from where the redirect is to where the lowering point is. I like a good 45-degree angle there. It seems to compress the wood the best, depending on how the limb is growing. And a lot of times they grow at a, I don't know, almost like a 80 degree, 70 degree, almost completely vertical, but not quite. So that 45-degree angle usually works pretty good, and I stick to that for the most part, unless I'm on a weird, crazy leaning section. So I'll work this down a little more. Like I said, try to keep all the logs as flat as possible. And then this lead to my right, I believe, is the one that I end up using for a redirect, and I set that up and you guys will see that. So still a few more big sections I can cut though. So we've recently been talking about limb walking, and this is like a perfect example of keeping your weight back into your system, almost facing your tie-in point and setting back into the system and using the saddle and all the advantages of that. So just kind of pay attention to that, and that kind of helps on these skinny, especially the skinny, long, tall limb walks.